$118 worth of liquor. This money is gone. What were the numbers again?
What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as I am, I decided to get this YouTube video underway with 5 pieces of dark and disturbing lost media. Now, last night I reacted to 9 more pieces of dark and disturbing lost media by Savage17. This person has changed their channel name to Savox. So here we go.
I don't know how to use this, but I have a long-standing interest in lost media. Lost media is described as, appropriately enough, a piece of media that is lost or difficult to track down. The best place to find information on a piece of media that is considered lost is the Lost Media Wiki. The wiki has played a huge role in many pieces of lost media being found, such as Rhapsody Street Kids, one of the worst animated movies of all time that aired once and then went missing for over a decade, before it was obtained by the wiki's owner Diacate and made available for everyone to view, and About Dressy Sally, aka Clockman, which was lost for decades before it finally resurfaced on YouTube in 2017. However, there is a darker side to the wiki. A number of entries on it are labeled NSFL, which stands for Not Safe for Life. This means they are the most disturbing pieces of media listed on the site. There's a reason most of these are lost, namely they've been withheld from the public due to their graphic or unsettling content. Like I said, I have a long-standing interest in lost media, and that includes the disturbing kind. So in this video, I'll be going through the Not Safe for Life section of the Lost Media Wiki. The Andrew Blaze tapes. Andrew Blaze, real name Randy Stair, was a YouTuber who originally started on the site in 2008 on a channel called Pioneers Productions, which was mostly used for uploading comedy skits.
Randy, have you seen my wooden alligator?
Yeah, dude, he's like your best character. Watch your videos of him.
No, I mean, have you seen him?
No,
He's gone.
This channel was not successful, so he moved over to another one called Ember's Ghost Squad. The channel was named after Ember McLean from Danny Phantom, who Randy seemed to have developed an obsession with, to the point where he wanted to die and be reincarnated as her. Somewhere along the line, Randy basically went completely insane.
And that's when Amber came back into my life. It was in 2013, late March, early April. That's when she came back into my life. I looked up the episode again on YouTube and looked up the song again, and then that was it. From that point forward, she never left my life again. Ever. I played the song pretty much every single day of my life. And it just fell down a hole of deep, dark depression and despair, nothingness, into an abyss of just fucking darkness. I can't even explain it.
What are you waiting for?
And every day it just got a little bit darker.
He hated the world and wanted to make sure everyone knew.
Okay, so here's the deal. I have a 1983 quarter right here. You believe in fate? Here's the fate test. I'm gonna flip this 3 times. The best out of 3, rather. And if it's heads, I'll do it here. If it's tails, super. That's a tails. That's a heads. Ooh, one of each. Tension's building up. It's a tails. That's tails. You realize, if I flip this next coin, and it's on tails, there's going to be devastation and destruction. Tails. That is a tails, folks. Tails. Which means there's going to be a lot besides my own. Possibly more than one.
That's fake for you. He made an animated movie in which he and the character named in a high school. This was his way of foreshadowing his eventual plan to shoot up the supermarket where he worked, where on June 8th, 2017, he would kill 3 people before turning the gun on himself.
Like, there's 250 fucking shells! 250 rounds of ammunition!
The day before, he posted links on his Twitter that led to his journal and hours worth of videos detailing his plans. One of which was filmed the day before the shoot, where Randy took us on a sick, twisted tour of the supermarket, where he killed 3 people the very next day. These videos briefly went missing after the shoot, but were found a few weeks later and uploaded to archive.org. So they're not lost anymore, but they're still listed on the wiki, so I'd say they count. The ARMIN MEIWES.
Hold on. I've watched Danny Phantom. However, I didn't look at my television screen and say, oh, well, she's kind of hot. I'm going to obsess over this. You're telling me that was the start of his insanity? You become obsessed with an animated character that's not going to come to life no matter how hard you want him or her or the dog or the cat to be. And on top of that, you're telling me that not only did he lose his mind, but he went to the place that he worked at, a supermarket, took a gun and took ammunition and decided to kill 3 people before committing suicide. No. That's not insanity. You're not insane when you decide to do something like that. You see, insanity, the dictionary definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. He knew it. I imagine he knew exactly what he was doing. I will go on record and say he knew exactly what he was doing. And besides facing the consequences and letting himself be arrested by the cops, he ends his life. Now, I will say this. It is of my opinion that, everybody is saying that guns are the problem. No, guns are not the problem. I can go to a gun store. I can buy a pistol. And I can buy ammunition. I can then load that pistol and set it on a table. That pistol is not going to be like, oh, I'm going to shoot you. No. You see, unless you knock it off and it lands in a certain way, it's going to discharge. However, if it's just sitting there, you can stare at it. You can say, come on, kill me. It's not going to do anything because it's not alive. Unless you have somebody behind the gun with their hand on the trigger, and they tighten their finger to where the trigger goes off and a bullet comes out. Guns are not the problem. It's the idiots behind the guns that are the problem. Now that I've said all that, let's continue on.
Tape.
My name, MEIWES. I was born 1961. Here from Rothenburg, Germany. I killed a man, slaughtered him, and ate him. Since then, he is always with me.
On March 9th, 2001, in Rothenburg, Germany, 39-year-old IT technician ARMIN MEIWES and 39-year-old engineer Bernd Brandes met after organizing over the internet to have Brandes killed and eaten by MEIWES, who had a fetish for cannibalism. ARMIN had tried several times to bait a victim, going as far as to meet a potential candidate, but failed as they backed out. Eventually, ARMIN's post caught the attention of Brandes, who also had a cannibalism fetish, but in his case wanted to be eaten. The two arranged to meet up, and upon arriving at ARMIN's house, Brandes asked him to bite off his member. When this proved unsuccessful, ARMIN cut it off with a knife. Brandes tried to eat it raw, but it was too chewy, so ARMIN tried frying it, but cooked it to the point where it was inedible. So he gave it to his dog. After that, Brandes sat in a bathtub and bled out for 3 hours while ARMIN read a Star Trek novel. After Brandes was dead, ARMIN took his body to a room that he turned into a makeshift slaughterhouse and burned him. ARMIN would later make a detailed post on the Cannibal Cafe, which was the fetishist forum where he'd met Brandes, in which he revealed what he'd done. Someone on the site reported it to the police and he was arrested in December 2002. ARMIN had apparently kept Brandes' flesh in ice boxes and had consumed roughly 20 kilograms of it. Upon his arrest, the police found a tape showing the events of the killing and later the only time the police ever allowed the tape to be seen was during ARMIN's trial, where 4 journalists who were present apparently required therapy after viewing it. ARMIN was convicted of manslaughter and was sentenced to 8 years in prison. A retrial in 2005 saw him found guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. The video itself remains in possession of the German authorities, and due to its graphic content is unlikely to ever be released to the public.
This isn't a hot dog stand? No!
Brandon Lee's.
Get your wet teddy bears 100% wet, guaranteed, or the next one's on me. Only pay for what you need.
What is with these sick people? Okay. I don't understand this. So, a cannibal goes onto this website, tries to bait people, and ends up getting baited. And the guy that takes the bait happens to be another cannibal, except he wants to be eaten. So, they meet up. Guy's like, hey, cut off my reproductive organ. Cut off my genitalia. Cut off my genitals. It's okay. Then I'll eat it. Then you sit in a bathtub. Well, wait. You try to eat it raw. That doesn't work. You try to fry it. You fry it into abomination. Then you feed it to your dog, because everyone knows dogs eat pretty much anything. Then the guy you meet on the internet is sitting in your bathtub, bleeding out for 3 hours. Then after that, you go into a room, make it into a makeshift slaughterhouse, then slaughter him and eat him. And on top of that, you caused 4 journalists to experience something so disgusting that they had to If they had to go into therapy. You deserve life in prison. Let's continue on.
Brandon Lee was the son of legendary martial artist and actor Bruce Lee. Following in his father's footsteps, Brandon also became a martial artist and actor, landing supporting roles in several action movies before he was cast as a leading role in Alex Proyas' 1994 cult classic, The Crow, which would be his first and only leading role. On March 31st, 1993, Lee was filming a scene in which his character, Eric Draven, is shot upon witnessing the rape and beating of his fiancée. Michael Massey, as the character, was the real 44 Magnum revolver was using dummy cartridges. This same gun had been used for an earlier scene, after which they unknowingly left a live primer, which is responsible for creating the combustion that launches bullets out of the gun inside the cartridge. The gun had been fired with enough force to lodge a bullet in the gun's barrel. When it came time for the scene where the gun would be fired at Lee, blank rounds were loaded into the gun with live powder and primer. The production's firearms specialist had gone home for the day, so the gun hadn't been checked
to make sure there was no obstructions in the barrel of the gun.
Because of the powder and primer, the bullet lodged in the barrel was discharged with the same force they would have had if it were loaded with a live round. The bullet struck Brandon in the abdomen. He was rushed to the hospital but died later that day. His death was caught on camera and was allegedly destroyed under the insistence of the director. However, some of the cameramen claim otherwise, including one who even claims to own a copy of the death footage. The footage has never been released or seen, and no legitimate stills of the footage have been found either. Despite Lee's death being a freak accident that was ultimately caused due to the production crew cutting corners and not taking the time to check the gun, Michael Massey, who fired the bullet at Lee, never got over the incident. He was said to have never watched the movie and regretted the incident until his death from stomach cancer in 2016. It really is tragic that just like his father, Brandon died young through no fault of his own. Because of this, we never really got to see what kind of career he could have had. He could have gone on to be just as influential as his father, but sadly, we'll never know what could have been.
Okay. That took a dark turn. But here's my question. I understand the dummy cartridges. But why on earth would the firearms expert just say, "You guys got this, I'm going home"? Shouldn't you have stayed there until the scene was done? I mean, you could have, I don't know, looked down the barrel and say, guys, hold up. We can't do this scene yet. Well, why not? There's an actual bullet lodged in the gun. If you shoot that right now, you are going to kill that man. But instead, the firearms expert just went home. Really bad. And here's another question. Wouldn't the production crew be... I mean, if there was a trial, wouldn't the production crew be on trial for Brandon Lee's death? Somebody let me know down in the comments.
The death of Owen Hart. I couldn't make a video like this without covering Owen Hart's death. Owen Hart was a Canadian professional wrestler and a member of the Hart wrestling family. He's best known for his time wrestling in the World Wrestling Federation where, although he didn't reach the heights of his older brother Bret the Hitman Hart, was well loved by the fans due to his impressive in-ring ability and his charismatic personality. In 1997, following an incident known as the Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart left the company for the rival promotion WCW. He was followed by the British Bulldog and later Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who were Bret and Owen's brothers-in-law. This left Owen as the only member of the Hart family in the WWF. In early 1999, the WWF repackaged him as the Blue Blazer, the gimmick he had when he debuted in the company a decade earlier.
You know, there's a lot of tough wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation. Big, mean, nasty, tough guys like Dino Bravo uses all that muscle to win his matches. Then I've got Bruce Brown, the Brooklyn Brawl, with all their dirty street fighting tactics, and they use that to win. Then I've got Mr. Purple, Kurt Hennig, who thinks you're the greatest wrestler in the world. So Mr. Purple, you step in the ring with the Blue Blazer and let me show you what great wrestling is all about. Each and every one of you guys have your own style, but I do have my own unique style, and I use that acrobatic maneuver to beat you guys 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, and that's my strategy. Beat you guys with my great wrestling acrobatics, and that's what's going to get me to the top, the World Wrestling Federation. So all you big, tough, arrogant, nasty wrestlers, come on, I'm ready for you, in the ring!
On several occasions, Owen would make his entrance to the ring by being lowered by a zip wire. On May 23rd, 1999, at the Over the Edge pay-per-view, Owen was going to make this entrance for a match with the Godfather for the Intercontinental Championship. Just before the match was due to start, announcer Jim Ross said that there was big problems, and the feed cut to an interview with Owen that was filmed earlier that night.
Well, so let's take you now to an interview conducted earlier tonight with Kevin Kelly and the Blue Blazer, and we got big problems out here.
Well, we got a big match tonight. Going after the Intercontinental Championship, taking on the Godfather.
Ooh, the Godfather. Just saying his name makes my blue blood boil. Ooh, the Godfather, my arch nemesis. He represents everything that's wrong with the WWF. But fear not, because I, the Blue Blazer, will always triumph over evildoers. And you know why? Because I always take my vitamins, say my prayers, and drink my milk. Woo!
This would be the last time he was ever seen alive on television. During the hype package that was shown before the interview, Owen was making his entrance on the zip wire. He was supposed to unlatch his harness when he was a few feet above the ring, causing him to fall flat on his face for comedic effect, as his wrestling persona was a bumbling superhero. The harness was accidentally unlatched prematurely, causing Hart to fall 24 meters, chest first onto the top rope, flinging violently into the ring. Jim Ross informed the TV audience what was happening as the camera cut from him to the crowd, staying off the ring while the paramedics worked on Owen.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing live television, a lot of things can happen, and sometimes they are not good. The Blue Blazer, as we know, as Owen Hart, was going to make a very spectacular superhero-like entrance from the rafters, and something went terribly wrong here. Certainly, Owen Hart, Blue Blazer, very serious situation here at this point in time is being attended to by the EMTs. This is not a part of the entertainment here tonight. This is as real can be here. And the EMTs are tending to Owen in the ring now. And we are a little bit of a loss of this situation. I've been doing this for more years than I would like to admit. And this is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. This is not your typical wrestling storyline. This is a real situation.
The event was postponed for 15 minutes before the WWF CEO Vince McMahon made the decision to continue the event. 1 hour after the event was resumed, Ross appeared on camera once more to deliver the news that Owen Hart had passed away from his injuries.
Here in Kansas City, tragedy befell the World Wrestling Federation and all of us. Owen Hart was set to make an entrance from the ceiling, and he fell from the ceiling. And I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died. Owen Hart has tragically died from that accident here tonight.
Since cameras were rolling at the time of the accident, footage of Hart's fatal fall exists on tape. Former WWF announcer Kevin Kelly, who was also the one interviewing Owen event, stated that the tape was stored in the promotion's video library, with strict orders never to destroy, view, or duplicate. The Over the Edge pay-per-view was not officially made available to watch until 2014, when it was added to the WWE Network. However, all references to Owen Hart during the show are removed, though they do display this image as a tribute to him. Due to legal issues with Owen's widow, Martha Hart, who successfully won a wrongful death lawsuit against the company following her husband's death. It's unlikely that footage of his death will ever be released. All we have are several screenshots of Owen being treated by the paramedics, and also audio from the Spanish announce team at the event, where their reaction to Owen's fall can be heard, and the sound of Owen hitting the turnbuckle is also audible.
Blue Blazer is back in the WWF because the WWF needs the Blue Blazer back.
Y él dice, Blue Blazer, que aquí hay que traer reformas. ¡Oh, no! ¡Oh, no!
Why me? Because the WWF needs a superhero like the Blue Blazer.
When Owen was falling, everybody that was there said the last thing that he yelled was, "Look out. A guy's falling from 100 feet, and he knows he's done. And the last thing he's thinking is, look out, I don't want to hurt you." You know, it was foolish, it was unnecessary, it didn't need to happen.
Mother! You maybe ostracize some people? Yeah, well, I'm word of mouth, we're not just...
The owner's obnoxious behavior wasn't the only thing driving customers away.
As I walked in, I was a little taken aback by the decoration. A little scary, a little sketchy.
Now, Royal Oaks is losing $5,000 a month and is only 6 months away.
Watch YouTube TV. Try it free.
With nowhere else to turn, the Kennedy brothers have the doors bust open to make a call.
Okay.
To bar rescue.
Being a wrestling fan, there was no way he was going to be able to make a video like this without covering. No way. We can... There are still debates today about whether Over the Edge should have been stopped or should have continued. However, you can't stop live pay-per-view. And on top of that, Martha did win a wrongful death lawsuit. I heard the figure that she won way back when. I think it was to the tune of... Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. It was like to the tune of $180,000, something like that. And I understand that Owen may have not been up to the task. And yeah, I don't think he should have been up there. But at the end of the day, it fell on the World Wrestling Federation's shoulders. I mean, no one ever thought that night. Not Vince McMahon, not Martha Hart, not anybody. Anybody watching in the stands, not Lawler, not Ross. They would see a death. And quite frankly, I don't want to see that. Believe me, it's not the first time, and it's not going to be the last time a wrestler has died at a wrestling event. You can go back to the early times, and I know I'm getting a little long, but I have a point. You can go back to when people, where it was common for wrestlers to pull double duty, and some of them would die. My point is, it's a freak accident. That's all it was in 1999. That's all it was now. And that's all it is now. I mean, yeah, you can make the argument that the World Wrestling Federation was going head-to-head with World Championship Wrestling. And they were copying Sting. However, WCW did it right. And while the WWF did have a rigging company come in and rig the rappelling on Raws and everything, that night they decided to cut corners. That night they decided to do some. That night they just decided we can do it ourselves, and Owen died. However, I still don't think Martha should be that angry at the WWE. And I understand she has... I understand. Trust me, I do. I've never lost a spouse. Well, I've never been married to lose a spouse. But I have lost family members that I was extremely close to. So I can relate to that. But you know, we all have a date with death. We just don't know when our time is up. Owen's time had come. Tragic accident? Yes. But it's turned Owen's widow into a bitter, bitter woman. And I do say that with all due respect. Let's continue on.
Tiny Tim's heart attack. Herbert Boutros Corey, better known by his stage name Tiny Tim, was an American singer, musician, and musical archivist, best known for his 1968 rendition of Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which made it to number 17 on the charts. Though you probably know him better for this. Interestingly enough, while he was known for his falsetto vocals, he was actually a baritone.
Are you ready for love?
He was was also known for having a near encyclopedic knowledge of music, as displayed in this clip with Bing Crosby, where he was able to name what song Crosby was singing, as well as what film it was from, just from hearing one line.
Down the old Oxford Road, though you never know where it is by looking at my...
Oh, you didn't see it. You in 1933, the picture was college humor, right? And from that picture, you also sang, learn to cruise. You eliminate each rival soon. If you're heading for a sunny honeymoon, learn to cruise.
He also married his first wife on the Johnny Carson show, which was watched by an audience of 40 million people. However, after this, his fame began to decline. He continued to record new material and perform, but received very little attention. As the years went by, Tiny stopped taking care of his health, having a very poor diet and became a heavy drinker. He eventually developed congestive heart failure and type 2 diabetes. Despite his poor health, he continued performing. On September 28, 1996, Tiny was set to perform at the Ukulele Hall of Fame Expo at the Montague Book Mill in Massachusetts. His appearance at this event was caught on camera, but unfortunately due to copyright reasons I can't show the footage without it being heavily edited. As Tiny gave a speech to the audience, he was about to mention that he wasn't feeling very well. As he said this, Tiny collapsed and fell off the stage while the camera was still rolling.
Here coughing during the show, well, it's because,
He regained consciousness later on in the hospital and was told that he'd suffered a heart attack. He was interviewed while in the hospital, but the audio in the footage is very muffled and it's more or less impossible to make out what he's saying. His doctors warned him that if he didn't retire from performing, he'd be lucky to live maybe another year. Tiny ignored this advice, saying, quote, "I am ready for anything that happens. Death is never polite, even when we expect it. The only thing I pray for is the strength to go out without complaining." 2 months later, Tiny performed at a benefit show for the Women's Club of Minneapolis. He finished the show with his signature song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. As he began walking off stage, his wife Susan asked him if he was feeling okay. He simply replied with, "No, I'm not." He then collapsed and fell unconscious. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors attempted to revive him, but he never woke up. Tiny Tim died on November 30th from a heart attack. He was 64 years old. These pictures were taken just before his death. The footage of his first heart attack was lost for over 20 years before a company called Idiosyncrasies made the video available as a bonus feature for anyone who paid to watch a documentary they made. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here, but I personally think that this footage shouldn't be hidden behind a paywall. This is why, in December 2019, I paid to rent the documentary and recorded the footage of Tiny's heart attack with OBS. I then uploaded it to archive.org so it would be free for anyone to watch. As I said, I couldn't show the footage here because the copyright holders clearly don't believe in fair use, as they're known to send threatening emails to people claiming they'll have their YouTube channels taken down unless they pay to use the footage. I believe that this footage is historically significant and shouldn't be hidden behind a paywall by a bunch of greedy people trying to make money off a man's near-death experience. As disturbing as the footage could be to some people, I still believe it should be available for everyone to view.
Tiny. Say hi to people in Ames. You look great, Tiny.
And a deep clean, dry Brazil oxy discs. I'm Draymond Green with my Subway sub, tender steak, and LTG. Excuse me? But not Jason Sub.
The rest of the world thinks that it's really strange that America sings the anthem at their domestic sports. 2, brought by Tier C.
The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. New weeknights at 11 on Comedy Central.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's 5.
All Tiny Tim had to do was retire from performing. He ignored the advice and died 2 months later. However, I will say this, he died at 60 years of age. To me, he looked a lot older.
Five pieces of disturbing lost media. Well, 3 lost and 2 previously lost. But like I said, they were listed on the Lost Media Wiki still, so they do count. There was originally supposed to be 9 pieces of lost media that was going to be in this video, but unfortunately, due to YouTube's community guidelines, I couldn't actually put them into the video. They were a bit too gory and gruesome, if you know what I mean. But yeah, the ones I used in this video were still pretty dark and still pretty disturbing, and in some cases actually tragic. Actually, all of them were tragic except for Randy Stair's case. I don't feel any sympathy for Randy Stair. I feel sympathy for the people he killed, but not for him. Brandon Lee's and Owen Hart's stories were pretty tragic because they both died because the people in charge of the production they were a part of didn't take the proper safety precautions. In other words, their deaths could have been completely avoided.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm glad that I finally got to share my story about making the footage of Tiny Tim's heart attack available for everyone to watch. Like I said, historically significant footage like that should not be hidden behind a paywall. Also, just a little aside, I do recommend checking out Tiny Tim's music. Let's just say he had a lot more to offer than just tiptoe through the tulips and living in the sunlight. I'll be leaving a link to the articles of all the lost media I mentioned in this video, since obviously that's where I got a lot of the information from. And I also want to give a little shout out and thanks to the Lost Media Wiki. Please keep doing what you're doing, Lost Media Wiki. And thank you folks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, leave a comment and subscribe if you're new. I'll be seeing you all next time. Goodbye.
Would you bring your wife here? Exactly right. Because he really doesn't want to expose.
This concludes my reaction to 5 pieces of dark and disturbing lost media. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as always, I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.